Reckoning on a yacht. Tell me his name, Sofía, or I swear I'll throw you overboard right now. My voice cracked over the endless ocean, the yacht rocking beneath us, miles from shore. I'm Tomás Rivera, and I had my wife pinned against the railing, her dark eyes wide with terror, her hands clawing at mine. She gasped, "Tomás, please," but I tightened my grip. "No more lies. I found your diary. Javier. The pier. The condo. Who is he?" Her face crumpled, and I knew I'd cracked her open. But let me rewind. How did we get here, 30 miles off the Florida Keys, with me one step from losing it? 3 days ago, I was just a guy 35, an architect from Miami, married to Sofía Morales, the woman I thought was my soulmate. 7 years, no kids, just us and a life I'd built from scratch. She's 32, stunning, the kind of woman who turns heads without trying. We were on our yacht, a sleek 40-footer I'd named La Promesa after our vows for a getaway. Sun, sea, romance. That was the plan. Until I found something that turned my world to ash. It was the second afternoon. Sofía was sunbathing topside, all curves and confidence, while I poked around below deck for a screwdriver to fix a loose panel. That's when it slid out from under the sink, a leather notebook, worn and heavy. Hers. I flipped it open, expecting random thoughts. Instead, I got a confession. Javier kissed me last night. I didn't stop him. My stomach dropped. Page after page, dates, details. La Rosa, his hands on me. Told Tomás I was at Carla's. She'd been cheating for months, mocking me behind my back. I could have confronted her then, screamed until my throat bled. But I didn't. I slid the diary back, grabbed a beer, and went up smiling. She stretched, clueless, asking, "You okay, mi amor?" "Never better," I lied. Inside, I was boiling, not just with hurt, but with something darker. Revenge. She'd broken her promise, our sacred I do. I'd make her pay, not with lawyers, but with a lesson she'd never forget. That night, I barely slept, her soft snores taunting me. I decided I'd get every name, every lover, out of her. Then I'd call a guy I know, Raul, ex-military, discreet. He deactivates problems for the right price. Her betrayal wouldn't just end with tears, it'd end with bodies. But first, she had to talk. Next morning, I played the doting husband. Pancakes, coffee, a kiss on her cheek. She beamed, no idea I was a ticking bomb. Over breakfast, I said, "Let's sail out today, deep ocean, just us." Her eyes sparkled. "So romantic." I smirked. "You'll see." By noon, we were out far enough that the coast was a memory, the water an endless mirror. She lounged with a drink, bikini glowing against her skin, while I cut the engine. She didn't notice at first, not until I stood over her, the diary in my hand. "What's that?" she asked, squinting. I tossed it at her feet, pages flapping open. "Your little love story. Javier." "Who else?" Her jaw dropped, color draining from her face. "Tomás, she stammered, but I grabbed her arm, yanking her up. "Don't. I've read it all. Every dirty detail." She tried to pull free, but I dragged her to the edge, the railing digging into her back. "Tell me his name," I growled. Or I swear she shook her head, tears spilling. "It was a mistake." I stopped it. "Stopped it." I laughed cold and sharp. "You wrote about him like he's your damn savior. Who is he? And don't lie, we're too far out for games." Her drink shattered on the deck, glass crunching under my boots. She choked out, "Javier. Javier Ruiz. That's it, I swear. One name. A start." But I knew there were more. She'd slipped too easily into deceit. I leaned in, my breath hot on her face. "Good. Now the rest. Every guy you've touched behind my back. Because here's the deal, Sofía, you're gonna watch what happens to them. And you'll never forget it." Her knees buckled, but I held her up, the ocean stretching silent around us. She thought she'd broken me. She had no idea I'd break her world instead. This was just step one, and trust me, you won't believe where it's going. I let go of her arm, just enough for her to slump against the rail, her sobs mixing with the wind. "Javier Ruiz," I repeated, tasting the name like poison. "Who is he? Some slick bastard from Miami? Tell me." She wiped her face, voice shaky. He's a bartender. At La Rosa. It started months ago, after a girls' night. It was stupid, Tomás, I ended it." "Ended it?" I laughed loud and bitter. "You wrote about him like he was your escape. 6 months of screwing around isn't stupid. It's a choice. Who else?" Her eyes darted, panicked. "There's no one else. I swear." But I knew better. That diary wasn't a one-man show, her words had too much heat, too much guilt. I stepped closer, towering over her. "Don't play me, Sofía. We're out here alone, no lifelines. You think I won't know if you're lying?" She shrank back, the yacht creaking beneath us. Okay, just Javier. I messed up, but it's over. Please, let's go back." "Go back?" Like I'd just sail us home, crack a beer, and forget? No chance. I grabbed the diary from the deck, flipped it open, and shoved it in her face. March 12th, his hands on me again, told T I was late at work. That's not Javier, you said he was nights at the bar. Who's this one? Her mouth opened, then shut like a fish gasping. I don't, she stuttered. I slammed the book shut inches from her nose. Try harder. Now. She hugged herself, voice barely a whisper. That was Mateo Vargas. He's a client, I met him through your firm. My firm? My architecture gig? The air rushed out of me. You screwed a client? In my world. She nodded, tears dripping. It was once, Tomás. A mistake. I was drunk, lonely, you were always working. Always working to keep her in Prada and mojitos while she stabbed me in the back. I tossed the diary aside, pacing the deck. Javier. Mateo. 2 already. How many more, Sofía? How many guys laughed at me behind my back? She shook her head fast. That's it. I swear on my life. But her eyes, they flickered, dodging mine. She was holding out. I stopped, staring at the endless water. Out here, I had all the power. No cops, no excuses, just her and the truth. I turned back, voice low. Here's how this works. You're gonna list every single one. And when we're done, I'll make sure they pay every last bastard who touched you. You won't just confess, Sofía, you'll watch what happens next. Her face went gray. What do you mean? I smirked, leaning in. I know people. Raúl, for one, he cleans up messes. One call, and your lovers? They're gone. Not a word to anyone, just poof, deactivated. Starting with Javier. She gasped, clutching the rail. No, Tomás, you can't. That's insane. Insane? Maybe. But betrayal like hers? That's what drove me here. You made it insane, I said. Now talk, or I start dialing. She sank to her knees, the fight draining out. Okay, there was one more. Luis Navarro. He's a trainer at my gym. 3 times, that's all, then I stopped. 3 names, Javier, Mateo, Luis. My head spun, but I kept my cool. Good. Addresses. Phone numbers. Everything you've got. She hesitated, then rattled them off. Javier at La Rosa, Mateo from my client list, Luis at Fitzone on South Beach. I memorized every word, the list searing into me like a brand. The sun was dipping now, painting the sky blood red. I stepped back, letting her slump there, a wreck on my deck. We're not done, I said. You're gonna sit there and think, make sure you didn't miss anyone. Because if I find out later you lied, I trailed off, patting my phone. She nodded, mute, her sobs the only sound over the waves. I walked to the helm, staring out. 3 names. 3 targets. Raúl would handle it quiet, clean. But something gnawed at me. That diary, it wasn't just a list. There was a tone, a thrill in her words. Was she scared now, or playing me still? I'd find out. And when I did, this ocean would be the least of her worries. I stood at the helm of La Promesa, the yacht swaying in the darkening ocean, 30 miles from the Florida Keys, with my wife Sofía crumpled on the deck behind me. I'm Tomás Rivera, and I just ripped 3 names out of her: Javier Ruiz, Mateo Vargas, Luis Navarro, her lovers, her betrayals, straight from that damn diary I'd found. She swore that was it, her sobs echoing over the waves, but I wasn't buying it. Not yet. The sun was gone now, the sky a bruise of purple and black, and out here, it was just us, no shore, no escape. I turned, watching her huddled there, mascara streaking her face. You done crying? I asked, voice hard. She looked up, eyes red. Tomás, I told you everything. Please, let's go home. Home? Like I could just flip a switch and forget. I crouched down, close enough to smell her perfume, sweet, mocking. You think 3 names erase this? I've got your diary, Sofía. Every page screams you're holding back. So let's try again, who else? She shook her head, desperate. There's no one. I swear Javier, Mateo, Luis, that's all. But her hands twisted in her lap, a tell I'd seen 100 times when she dodged me. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to Raúl's number, my fixer, my old Miami shadow. See this? 1 tap and Javier's pouring his last drink. You want that on you? Talk. Her breath hitched. You're bluffing. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? I cut her off, dialing. It rang once, twice. She lunged, grabbing my wrist. Stop. Okay, there's one more. I hung up, smirking. Knew it. Name. She sagged, voice barely audible. Carlos Pena. He's a cop. A cop? My jaw tightened. You screwed a badge? Where? She whispered his place. Downtown. 4 months ago. It was quick, over fast. For names now: Javier the bartender, Mateo the client, Luis the trainer, Carlos the cop. My head throbbed, but I kept pushing. That's it? No more late nights, no more girls' trips. She nodded, frantic. Yes. That's everyone, I promise. Promise. That word again, the one she'd torched. I stood, pacing the deck, the diary tucked under my arm. Addresses, I said. All of them. Now. She rattled them off. Javier's bar on Ocean Drive. Mateo's condo in Brickell. Luis's gym on South Beach. Carlos's apartment near the precinct. I typed them into my phone, each one a pin on my revenge map. Good, I said, pocketing it. You're gonna sit there and watch what happens to them. Raul's efficient. Won't even take a week. Her eyes widened. Tomás, no, you can't kill them. I'll go to the cops, Cops. I laughed, sharp and cold. You think Carlos'll save you? Or maybe he'll spill about your little fling when I send him that diary page. She froze, realizing she'd boxed herself in. I leaned against the helm, staring out at the black water. You broke us, Sofía. Now you'll see the cost. The air was thick, the only sound her shallow breaths. I let it sink in, her fear, her guilt. Then I heard it, a rustle, faint but real. I spun around. She was inching toward the diary, her hand outstretched. What are you doing? I snapped, lunging for it. She yanked it back, clutching it to her chest. You don't need this. Burn it. Let it go. I ripped it from her, pages fluttering. Let it go? This is my proof. My leverage. I flipped it open, scanning for anything I'd missed. That's when a loose sheet slipped out. A receipt, taped to the back. Blue Haven Motel, Key West, room 14, paid in cash. Dated 2 weeks ago. I held it up. What's this? Javier? Mateo? Who? She stammered. I don't know. Maybe a friend's thing. Cash? At a motel. I towered over her. You're still lying. Who were you with? She shrank back, voice breaking. It's nothing. A mistake. But her eyes, they darted again, that same damn tell. I grabbed her shoulders, shaking her. Last chance, Sofía. Who's missing from your list? Because if I find out later, and I will, you're done. She sobbed, collapsing under my grip. I don't remember. Please, stop. But I didn't believe her. That receipt, it was fresh, too fresh. Someone else was out there, and she was protecting him. I let her go, stepping back, the diary and receipt in hand. Fine. You want to play? I'll dig it up myself. And when I do, you'll wish you'd talked. I turned to the helm, firing up the engine. The ocean stretched dark and endless, but my mind was racing. For names weren't the end, there was a fifth. And whoever he was, he'd just made my list. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I glanced back. She was curled up, staring at the water, the diary and receipt clutched in my hand like a loaded gun. You're thinking real hard over there? I said, voice cutting through the wind. Gonna tell me about Blue Haven Motel? Or do I have to drag it out of you? She jolted, eyes flicking to me. I told you. It's nothing. I don't remember. Her voice cracked. But that twitch in her jaw? Lies. Always lies. Nothing, huh? I held up the receipt, the paper flapping. Room 14, cash, 2 weeks ago. You don't forget a motel hookup, Sofía. Who was it? She hugged her knees tighter. Maybe it was Luis again. I don't know. Luis, the gym rat? I snorted. You wrote every sweaty detail about him, nothing about Key West. Try again. She buried her face, mumbling, please, just stop. Stop? Not a chance. I cut the engine, letting the yacht drift in the dark. Silence hit hard, just waves slapping the hull. I walked over, towering over her. Here's the deal. I've got 4 names for Raul, 4 guys who'll vanish. But this, I waved the receipt. This is a ghost. And I don't like ghosts. She looked up, tears glistening. Tomás, you're scaring me. Good. I shot back. You should be scared. Because if I find this guy without your help, it's not just him who's done. Her breath hitched, but she stayed quiet. Fine. To crack it myself. I sat across from her, flipping through the diary again, hunting for clues. her handwriting blurred in the dim deck lights. Dates, places, all her dirty little secrets. Then I stopped. A page near the end, smudged, half-torn. He said he'd wait forever. Can't tell T. No name, no date, just that. Who's he? I demanded, shoving it in her face. She flinched, shaking her head. I don't know. An old draft, maybe. Old draft? Bull. The ink was fresh, the tear jagged. Forever's a long time, Sofía. Sounds like someone special. I stood, pacing, the receipt burning a hole in my pocket. Blue Haven was an hour from Miami. Close enough for a quick trip, far enough to hide. I needed more. I pulled out my phone, signal weak but enough. I texted Raul. Blue Haven Motel, Key West, room 14, 2 weeks back. Check it. He'd dig quietly, like always. Sofía watched, voice trembling. What are you doing? Finding your ghost, I said, not looking up. Raul's good. He'll sniff out who paid cash. She scrambled to her feet. No, you don't need to. Why not? I spun on her. Who are you protecting? Someone bigger than a bartender or a cop? Her silence screamed louder than words. I grabbed her wrist, pulling her close. Talk, or Raul's not just hunting him, he's hunting you. She yanked free, backing up. You're crazy. There's no one else. But her eyes, wild, darting, said different. Then my phone buzzed. Raul, fast as ever, motel clerk, says tall guy, cash, no ID. Left a lighter engraved D. A lighter? D? None of her names, Javier, Mateo, Luis, Carlos, started with D. I held it up. Who's D, Sofía? Tall guy, Key West, 2 weeks ago. She froze, mouth working but no sound. I don't, she stuttered. I stepped closer, voice low. You don't what? Know him? Or want him dead? She sank back, shaking. It's Diego. Diego Salazar. He's an old friend. Old friend? My gut twisted. Friend doesn't sneak to motels. What's he to you? She swallowed hard. We dated. Before you. He found me again last year, said he still loved me. Still loved her? The diaries he'd wait forever flashed in my head. And you met him? She nodded, tiny. Once. At Blue Haven. I told him it was over. Over? Maybe for her. But Diego? I didn't buy it. I stared at her, the fifth name sinking in. Diego Salazar, the ghost lover. Addresses, I said, cold. Now. She gave it some dive in Key West. I added it to my list, 5 targets now. But something felt off. Her fear, it wasn't just for them. It was for me finding him. The engine roared back to life. We're heading in, I said. But this isn't done. Diego's next, and you'd better pray he's the last. She nodded, mute as the yacht turned. 5 names. 5 deaths. But that lighter? That D? It felt like a warning, and I wasn't sure from who. Sofía sat slumped on the deck, her face a mess of tears and fear, the diary open beside me. I'd made her spill it all, addresses, details, Javier at La Rosa, Mateo in Brickell, Luis on South Beach, Carlos downtown, Diego in Key West. 5 targets, 5 calls to Raul, and they'd be deactivated. She thought I was bluffing. She'd learn soon enough. I leaned against the helm, the engine rumbling low, and stared at her. 5, Sofía. 5 guys behind my back. You sure that's it? My voice was ice, cutting through the wind. She nodded, weak. Yes, Tomás, I swear, no more. Swear? Her promises were trash now. I held up the motel receipt, the D lighter Raul had texted about burning in my mind. Diego's the ghost, huh? He'd wait forever, that's what you wrote. Sounds like he didn't take over for an answer. She hugged herself, shivering. He didn't. He kept calling, texting. I blocked him after Blue Haven. I didn't want him. Didn't want him? The diary said different, her words glowed with heat, not regret. I smirked, cold. Sure. That's why you met him in secret. What else you hiding? She shook her head fast. Nothing. You've got it all, please, just stop this. Stop? I was too far gone. I pulled out my phone, texting Raul, 5 names, Javier Ruiz, La Rosa. Mateo Vargas, Brickell condo. Luis Navarro, Fitzone South Beach. Carlos Pena, downtown apartment. Diego Salazar, Key West dive. Start with Javier, quiet, clean. I hit send, watching her. It's done, I said. Javier's first. You'll hear about it soon. Her eyes bulged. No, Tomás, you can't. Call it off. Call it off. I stepped closer, looming. You don't get it, do you? You broke us, ripped my life apart. They don't get to walk away. She scrambled up, grabbing my shirt. I'll confess. I'll tell the cops everything. Just don't. I shoved her back, not hard, but enough. Cops? Like Carlos? You think he'll save you or rat you out when Raul's done? She sank down, sobbing. You're a monster. A monster? Maybe. But she'd made me one. I turned away, steering us toward shore, the keys a faint glow on the horizon. My phone buzzed. Raul, Javier's on shift now. Done by dawn. I didn't reply, just pocketed it. One down. 4 to go. But that D lighter, it nagged me. Diego didn't sound like some lovesick ex. He sounded like trouble. Then I heard her move. I spun around. She was at the radio, fumbling with the controls. What the hell? I barked, lunging. She yelped, twisting away. I'm calling for help, you're insane. I ripped the mic from her hand, smashing it against the console. Sparks flew, and she screamed, you'll kill me too. I grabbed her shoulders, shaking her. You don't call shots anymore. Sit down, or I tie you down, your choice. She collapsed, trembling, and I tossed the broken mic aside. No one's coming, I said. Not for you. But as I turned back to the helm, something hit me like a chill up my spine. I picked up the diary again, flipping to that smudged "He'd Wait Forever" page. Under the deck light, I saw it, faint initials in the margin, DS Diego Salazar. But below it, scribbled smaller, almost scratched out, R. R? None of her names fit a Javier, Mateo, Luis, Carlos, Diego. Who was R? I wheeled on her. Who's R, Sofía? She froze, eyes huge. What? I shoved the page at her. Here R. Another lover? Another lie? She stammered, I don't know. It's old, meaningless. Meaningless? Not with that panic in her voice. I straightened, the yacht humming closer to shore. You're full of it, I said. 5's not the end, I'll find her too. And when Raul's done with Javier, you'll see I don't bluff. She buried her face, but I caught it, a flicker in her eyes. Fear, yeah, but something else. Guilt? Or a secret bigger than Diego? The keys loomed closer, and my phone stayed silent. Javier's clock was ticking. But whoever he was, he'd just lit a new fuse. And I'd blow it wide open. She sat on La Promesa deck, sobbing, and thought her tears would stop me. They didn't. I wrote Raul, my former military retainer, a list. Javier, bartender, Mateo, client, Luis, coach, Carlos, police, Diego, the former. 5 targets, 5 clean hits. Start with Javier, quiet, I told him. His answer quickly came, that's Dawn. One will soon fall. But that R scratched in her diary? It was a ladybug under my nail, and I didn't finish digging. The night was now black, the ocean of the stars mirror, the yacht drifted closer to the shore. I stood at the hello, the wind cut my face, and Sofía huddled near the handrails. Her bikini was a cruel joke against the background of the clutter she became. You were silent, I said in a quiet voice. Thinking about her? She shuddered, raising her head. No, Tomás, I told you everything. All? Bull. That diary, her confession in the skin, was a map of lies, and the shadow which I would chase into hell. I grabbed it from the deck, turning that smeared page, he would expect forever. Can't say DS Diego Salazar is clear as a white day. But is this tiny scraping or below it? Fresh ink, not some old doodles. Look at that, I said, pushing it under my nose. Who is he? Another guy whom you fucked in my bed. She pulled out, looking into her eyes. Nothing, mistake. I don't know. Her voice broke, but what is jaw? The same, damn you. Error. I laughed cold. You do not accidentally write the initials. Poor or Raul will add 6th. She hugged her knees, swinging. You are a paranoid. There is no one else. Paranoid? Perhaps. But 7 years with her Igor taught me. I sat down, close enough to smell her fear. That's the matter, Sofía. I have 5 bodies lined up. Javier's toast until morning. If P is real and I find it later, without your knowledge, you don't just watch. You are the next one. Her breath is interrupted, the sobs are muted. You wouldn't. You love me. Love? This word was burning. I loved, I corrected, raising. The past tense. You killed this with every kiss you gave them. I turned away by checking the phone. There is no message from Raul yet, but the dawn was small. A lot of time. I sent us to goats, the engine hum was quenching my rage. Then I heard it shuffling. I was spinning. She slowly went to the rescue boat, holding her hand on the latch. Do you go somewhere? I bark, rushing. She shouted, bouncing back. I just needed air. Air? On the yacht? I grabbed her hand, pulling. Do you think you jumped from the ship? Here. She twisted, begging. Let me go, Tomás, I will disappear, you'll never see me again. Disappear? Seductively. But no, she would run to whoever he was, and I would lose the truth. I pushed her. Sit down. You will not run away from this. Her eyes ran, counting. Then quietly, and if I tell you something? About Diego. Diego? I froze. What is with him? She swallowed, the voice trembling. He is not just a former. It is connected. Dangerously. Dangerously? The intestines squeezed. Continue to talk. Then she became hurt. He runs with the Team Key West, Miami. Drugs may be worse. Said he would protect me if I leave you. Protect her? From me? Or for her? Then why is it in your diary? I snapped. He would expect forever sounds like love, not an agreement. She quickly shook her head. It all started to you. But last month in Blue Haven it became tense. He said he would kill for me. I was scared, cut it off. Kill for her. The cold ran after me. Diego was not just a lover ghost, he was a player. And that lighter D found Raul? Perhaps the mark, not a monument. Didn't you think to tell me that? I gave up. She squeezed. I was scared. He knows people, bad people. Bad people. I sent Raul perfectly behind a bartender, instructor, police, a client, and now a dull gangster. My phone was smoking. Raul, Javier dropped out. Clean. Further. I gained, wait. Diego Salazar, Key West. Check it deeply. Maybe related. I put him in my pocket looking angry at Sofía. If the Diego team comes after me because of it, you will pay. She faded. I didn't mean to mean. Take care, I interrupted her. What about our boss Diego? Partner. She shook her head frantic. No. I don't know, I swear. To swear. Here it is again, her worthless word. I was walking, a heavy diary in my hand. The Diego team could complicate everything. Raul was good, but not invincible. And this is our, if it was not related to Diego, who was it? Another lover? Puppet? My head was circling, but I recorded her. Focus. Javier went. For left. And our, a symbol of substitution. The keys glowed closer, civilization sneaked. I turned to her. Here's a plan. We get up, you're silent, I will do it. One incorrect movement, Sophie, one call of Diego or anyone else, and the next stop Raul is you. She nodded silently, but her eyes flashed. Fear? Or something else? I couldn't say anymore. The yacht swayed when I turned off the engine by the shore, tie us. My phone was silent. Raul dug into Diego. Good. I will need everything he will find. I grabbed her hand, pulling. Inside, I said, nodding on the cabin. She stumbled and I locked the door behind her. On the deck, I lit a cigarette for the first time in many years, watching the smoke rolls into the night. 5 names point, 1 down. Diego Crew. NR, it was not just revenge, it was a war. And Sofía? She was not just a traitor. She was a passion that burned to something more. I would find R, even if it meant to break her world and my own into pieces. Part 7, Final Payment. Here he is, the people, the end of my story, and believe me, you won't see it. I was Tomás Rivera, and I just mocked La Promesa near Florida kiss, and my treacherous wife Sofía was closed in the cabin below. Javier went, the first blow of Raul, pure and quiet. There are 4 names, Mateo, Luis, Carlos, Diego. And that mysterious P from her diary bites me like a shark on a hairline. I stood on the deck, the cigarette ash fell into dark water, thinking that everything is under control. I was not just about betrayal, it was a trap and I got into it. My phone was smoking. Raul, Diego is not a trifle, runs with the Castillo team. Drugs, weapons, deep connections. Carefully. Castillo Crew? The worst in Miami is bad at the cartel level. I swore under my nose. The former Sofía was not just dangerous, he was a sweetened head-in-law. I replied, continue, Mateo next. Dig more about Diego. I needed a sharp Raul, but the inside was screaming about trouble. If Diego knew that Sofía was spilling, his team could already move. NR? Still ghost? I threw a cigarette overboard and headed down. Sofía sat down on the cow, lifting her knees, with red but sharp eyes, too sharp. Diego connected, I said, leaning at the door. Castillo Crew. Did you know? She quickly shook her head. No. He never told me, just hinted that he had power. Hold? Right? I came closer. MP? Don't lie, he is involved in this, isn't it? Her jaw has tensed, this is again. I told you, I don't know P. Her voice increased, tearing. Too loudly. Too much. I grabbed a diary from the table, turning the page. He would expect forever. DSR and raised. Explain this, Sofía. DS Diego who are? His boss? Your real lover. She rushed at him, but I pulled him back. Stop hiding. I said. She dropped, trembling. I do not know, Thomas, maybe nothing. Nothing? It was a bomb and it was a trigger. Then I heard it, engines quietly and roar, approach. Not boats. Cars. I screwed the top. 3 black off-roads with a heather drove to the pier, the door opened. 6 boys, tattooed, armed fell, moving quickly. Castillo crew. My heart was wheezing. They found us. I dived behind the wheel, pulled out my Glock from the console, kept it there in case. It was everything. I shouted into the hatch, Sofía, who did you call? She got up, faded. No one. I swear. To swear. In vain. The voice cut the night deep with an emphasis. Tomás Rivera. We know you were there. Go out or we will set the boat. I have hired. Hi guy, smooth hair, gold chain, Diego Salazar, should be so. In my memory, a lighter broke out. He confidently held the gun. His crew ran into a fan, blocking the dock. Without running. I grabbed Glock, the mind was stunning. Raul had a few hours, Javier fell, Mateo is next. I was alone. Sofía, I whispered, they are here for the sake of you or me. Speak fast. She trembled, tears flowed. Diego, apparently he followed me. I didn't call, I swear. Followed her? As? Then it happened, her phone. I broke the radio on the yacht, but she had a camera below. I grabbed her, patting. There, a phone with a burner in the upper bikini. You were lying, I started, but she sobbed. I wrote to him before. In the Blue Harbor, I said I would leave you. He is obsessed. Obsessed. He grabbed the burner perfectly, scrolling. 1 message 2 weeks ago, I end with T, help me. Sent to D. Diego. She arranged it before I found a diary. You are an idiot, I shouted. He doesn't save you, he cleans the house. Diego's voice came again, the last chance, Rivera. Bring it out or we will go. Shots were shot, warning shots, split the deck. I swore, pushing Sofía. Stay low. I jumped out, shot twice, cut my shoulder with one boy. They ran, opening the fire back. The bullets punched the body, the glass flew. I was bent, my heart was pounding. 5 by 1 is a bad chance. Then my phone rang, Raul, Mateo came out. Diego's crew moved quickly, he went to you. Hold on. Keep firmly? I would be dead in a few minutes. Sofía grabbed me by the leg. Give me. They will stop. Give it up? Seductively, but Diego was not here to bargain. He wanted us both to go, she was for a donation I was hunting. I shook her, shooting again. Another guy fell, grabbing his leg. For left. Diego shouted, enough games. Burn. Molotov flew an arc from the dock, the flames exploded on the nose. La Promesa turned into a fiery ball. I pulled Sofía back, smoke choked us. Move. I bark, pulling it on the feed. The lifeboat is our only chance. The bullets were clinging to when I cut the ropes, pushing it inside. The yacht broke out, warmly burned my back. I jumped, hardly rowing, 50 yards 100 in dark water. The Diego team opened the fire, but the distance overshadowed the sight. We came across a sandy braid, pulled ashore, wet and coughing. I turned on her, Glock lifted. You made it, Diego team, everything. She sobbed, I didn't know he. A shot came from my side. She gasped, blood bloomed on her breast. I twisted Diego, one, smoking a gun, made myself a shallow. Faithful ends, he smiled, aiming at me. I shot, crack, caught his hand. He staggered, but continued to approach. Then the headlights are dazzling. A SUV, not Castillo, went to the beach with a roar. Raul jumped, barking automatically. Diego pulled, the bullets pierced him and got into the surf. Silence. Raul ran gloomy. You're a mess, Thomas. She said to wait. I laughed, shaking. Couldn't. Sofía rattled near me, squeezing his wound. Tomás, P, she whispered, her eyes fade. Raul, it's... Raul? I froze. His gun was on me steadfast. Sorry, man, he said in a silent voice. She also wrote to me a message a few months ago. I wanted you to go. I played, I thought I would pick. Diego gave me a hand. Raul was my retainer. My friend. The ghost of the diary. Betrayal in a square. In Sofía, the breath stopped, she was gone. Raul came closer. Nothing personal, business. I dived when he shot, slipping into the sand, Glock, crack, touched his neck. He fell, bubble, near Diego. 2 bodies in the waves, Sofía is dead behind me. I stood, shaking, the diary washed under my feet, pages rolled up. Thank you very much for listening to this story to the end, I hope you liked. We work for you, looking for and telling you the most effective stories about women's betrayal, shocking intrigue, interweaving the plot and unexpected reactions of angry men. Save us, put likes, write comments, and, of course, subscribe to the channel to not miss any story.